All right, we're live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris, and this is my channel. We love comics, and we're getting back to what I guess I do best. I don't know. I'll leave that up to you to decide. And that is comic unboxings, where I always do them live, so you can see there's no fancy editing, no crazy shenanigans, just me sharing my love for comics, hopefully with people viewing that also have that said love of comics. So as usual, when I do the live unboxing, I will reveal, the significance of the book, if any, the price I paid for it, which includes like eBay taxes and shipping and all that other stuff, because you got to include that stuff. And I recommend, when people comment all the time and say things like, when are you going to do a spec video? All I could say is watch my videos, especially my unboxing videos, because I'm buying the books that I believe have potential in the future. So watching my unboxing videos is basically watching a person's video talking about key comics, because that's all I buy. So, of course, I do have plenty of videos that I did years ago that I was so ahead of the curve that I don't even have to talk to them about them anymore. I mean, how many times can you hear somebody talk about New Mutants 98 as a book to get, and Hulk 181? I mean, if you don't know that by now, you're just starting comic books today. So if you watch my unboxing videos, especially the recent ones, you're going to see books that I have what I think is going to be potential for either a future movie, future TV show, or value of a book that's going to be going up and not down. So it does pay to watch my comic book videos. Speaking of videos, I did 3 videos yesterday, which I decided to delete. I just felt for my channel it just came across the wrong way, especially when some of the comments tended to be more on the, I can't say negative side, but I would say the more of the glass is half empty side. And I talked to the person that's buying the comics last night. After the conversation, got out of it that there was just miscommunication, misunderstanding, and that's perfectly fine. That happens. That's life. The individual gave me a tracking number for the money orders that he legitimately forgot to sign. They should be arriving sometime today. Now, the tracking number says anytime between now and 9 p.m., which that means 9:30. So I guess I'll do a video about that tomorrow. But I just choose to have faith in people. Are there corrupt and dishonest people in the comic book community or any community? Absolutely. But considering the person has purchased from me before, they made a sizable down payment for them, and even if the 2 payments that he forgot to sign didn't go through, let's just assume they were signed and they did go through, they still wouldn't have gotten the comics right away, because of the fact that he's doing a 4-month, or she's doing a 4-month payment plan, and wouldn't have paid for it anyway, so they wouldn't have gotten the comics right away. So I just thought it was in best interest for everybody that I took those down. I'm sure most of you that watch my channel will understand that. I just would like to have faith that there are still good people, and the conversation I had with this individual last night really made me believe that this person is a kind soul, and we'll leave it at that. So I have nothing bad to say about this experience, other than, sometimes life happens, things get crazy. The idea is not to just jump the gun and say somebody's trying to lie or steal or scam. There are people out there, unfortunately, like that, but not everybody is going to be that. And sometimes you got to give people the benefit of the doubt that mistakes can happen. And that's why, regardless of what people were saying in the comment section, and I'm not saying they were being mean or nasty, and I can understand why people would think the way they were thinking, I just did not want to believe that this individual, or people that I deal with in general, have that kind of bad, evil blood. If I was some millionaire and they wanted to take advantage of a millionaire and it wouldn't affect them, yeah. But somebody that's, selling comics to pay bills and help feed stray cats, I mean, you'd have to be a pretty evil person to try and take advantage of somebody's kindness that way. So with that out of the way, like I said, I'm sure many of you understand. So no harm, no foul, no big deal, but I did delete those 3 videos. Just better off that way. If you want to critique the AI art, keep in mind I have nothing to do with the AI art other than typing in a bunch of letters, which come out to words, which the computer comes out with an image, and if I like it, I keep it. I really like this one, so I thought I would post it as my thumbnail for the day. If you want to critique it in the comment section or in the live section, please do. And if you look on the screen right below it, you'll see a banner going by that's showing all bunch of comics I'm looking to acquire via trade. Reason I want to do that is it just saves a lot of taxes. Because when you're talking high-end books, even in low grade, when you're talking a book that's 10,000 or more, you're talking some high amounts of taxes. So I'd like to avoid that. And show people you don't need to have money to be able to buy things. Because if you have something that's worth bartering, whether that's something you own or something about you as far as a service, like if you do roofs or installations, air conditioning and stuff like that, sometimes you could say to somebody, look, there's a comic I'm looking for. I don't have the cash, but I see your roof needs repair. The roof repair is going to be 15 grand. How about this? You give me your AF-15, I'll do your roof. So there's always ways you can come along and be able to acquire things when you think outside the box. So I want to show my viewers that when you don't give up and you stay persistent, even though it might be challenging, even though, you're not going to get responses right away and it may take a while, there's an old saying that says better late than never. And if it took 364 days out of the 365 to get one of these books, I will take that as a success. So I wouldn't focus on the 364 days where I technically failed. I would focus on the one day I succeeded. And that's what I want to change the mindset of people viewing my channel. So with that being said, let me put on the video camera. So here is the box. I did, as I always do, ask sellers if they can mail comics in boxes. I explain why. I'm always very friendly about it. And except for the other day, most people will listen. So always happy about that. The good thing is, if you ask somebody, especially on eBay, if they could please mail something in a box and explain why, because maybe, it could get... Well, to be honest, it's just going to be less chance of it being damaged if it's in a box as opposed to a mailer. But if it all of a sudden comes destroyed because they didn't listen and they mail it in a mailer, well, now you have emails that have been sent back and forth from eBay, which will help you if you have to file a case with eBay Buyer Protection Program. Now, they're pretty good regardless, but I mean, the more info you have, the better you are of protecting yourself. And that's why, like when I do comic book sales, when I do my auctions and stuff, I make sure all of my bases are covered, so even if somebody tried to be dishonest, at the very least, I'm not going to make it easy for them. And it's better to have too much information than not enough. Unless it's somebody describing what they just did in the bathroom. So, here are the comics. Hopefully they're in bag and boards, but we'll find out. And to the 14 people in the, viewing right now, if you want to hit the like button, that's awesome. You don't have to. It is not a prerequisite or a requirement, but it is always appreciated. All right, so let's go over these books. It's funny, they put them in Mylars, and Mylars always make these books look nicer than they really are. Because especially the last one, it's probably about a 5.0, maybe a 5.5. But the Mylars make them look gorgeous, and that's the thing, one of the many things I dislike about Mylars, is they can kind of make the comic look better than it actually is. Which, if you're selling something, is an advantage, but if you're a buyer, that could be a disadvantage. So let's go over the books, and then I will tell you the price I paid. This was a buy it now best offer, so I was able to wiggle it down a little bit. They didn't have a lot of wiggle room, but hey, any little bit you can get off a discount is perfectly fine with me. So, oh, and by the way, join the live chat, because I do a surprise subscriber shout out at the end. The only thing you have to do is be in the live chat. You don't even have to be a subscriber. But if you want to hit subscribe, great. First book. We got Amazing Spider-Man number 316, which of course is the first cover appearance of Venom, newsstand variant. These are not, believe it or not, Mark Jeweller's variants. These are just regular newsstand variants. I know, right? But hey, I'm really getting into now the newsstands and especially the Mark Jeweller's variants, because they're just the rarer of the bunch. So when anybody says a certain book, like for example, New Mutants 98, especially high-grade newsstand is going to be a lot rarer, and every time I say MJ, I feel like saying either Mary Jane or Michael Jordan, but the Mark Jeweller's variant is just only 2% of the entire print run. So they are something I highly recommend people collect. Now, there are literally thousands of comics that have the Mark Jeweller variants that are not worth anything. So don't just buy any one of them that you see. You need them to be key issues if you want them to have value. So you're going to see like Spider-Woman number 36 from the Bronze Age for $5 with the Mark Jeweller's variant. I mean, if you want to collect them, collect them. But not every one, just because it has a Mark Jeweller's variant, is going to have value. All right, so let's get to the next book. We have Amazing Spider-Man. That's number 298. This is the cameo, I believe, of Eddie Brock. And the first Todd McFarlane writing on Spider-Man. Which I remember seeing this book as a kid or a teenager at a local 7-Eleven. I did not like, in the beginning, Todd McFarlane's drawing of Spider-Man, because I always thought he made the eyes way too big, which I'll show you like right here, the traditional Spider-Man, his eyes, the white in his eyes was always very small. But after a while, as he got more and more into the issues that he was doing, I really liked how he streamlined Spider-Man's face, and I started to really grow into liking the bigger eyes that they put on the mask. But at first, I didn't like it. But these are not MJ variants, just so you know. These are actually just the regular newsstands. But still. And the 316 looks to be probably at least in the 9 range. I'd have to look at it more than the cover. Same thing with the 298. Probably in the 9 range. Alright. Next up, issue 299, which is the cameo of Venom. It is a newsstand variant. I think also 298 is the first appearance of the character Chance on there. That's one of the books, not this one obviously, but this is one of the 2 books I went to go get signed by Todd McFarlane. But this is issue 299. This one looks to be at least, again, probably in the 9s. But again, newsstand variant. I mean, I will open them up, because you never know. This person may have never opened them up, and they could be Mark Jeweller variants, but I doubt it. And then last but not least, I'm sure you guys know what this is. We got Amazing Spider-Man number 300. It is a newsstand variant. It does have a color-breaking crease that goes diagonal across here, and there's a couple of little lines. There's 3 or 4 spine ticks. There is a little dent in the corner, and there's another color-breaking crease there. So it's probably between a 5 and a 5.5. It could potentially get a 6 because it doesn't have the subscription crease that goes all the way down. So even though there is color-breaking creases, it's not, going all the way down the book. It's just in the edges, even though, like, a couple of these look like wrinkles, which could be pressed out. So I would say between a 5 and a 6. I think 6.5 would be pushing it after a pressing, because like I said, a couple of these are just indents. But overall, I can't complain. So this is also a newsstand variant. So what I've been doing lately, I'll ask you guys if you are doing a best offer on this. Now, I'm not talking about the dream come true, I want this for $1 price. I'm talking about if you were going with the maximum you would absolutely spend on these 4 books. So we've got, of course, the first full appearance of Venom. Newsstand variant, between a 5 and a 6 grade. We've got $2.98, which is, I believe, the cameo of Eddie Brock. First appearance of the Chance character, which I doubt will ever see the light of day. So, but it is the first Todd McFarlane art. Also newsstand variant. This is, like I said, at least very fine grade, if not higher, because I do have to check them. $2.99, which again is either very fine plus or up, which is the cameo appearance of Venom, newsstand variant. And then issue 316, which looks to be very fine plus and up. First cover appearance of Venom, newsstand variant. So if you're watching this later on, post in the comments section what would be the maximum you'd be willing to pay. I'm not talking about somebody saying, I would love to get it for 50. Good luck finding 316 for 50. So in the live chat, if you're live, place in there, if you had the chance to get this and it had the best offer, what would be the maximum you would spend to acquire all 4 of those books? And if you're watching it later on, pause the video, take the time, leave a comment, because I love reading your comments. So as of now, we got SP Comics said he would pay up to $800 for these books. So we'll give it a second or two. If anybody wants to make a, well, not a guess, but I'm saying is what you would spend maximum for these. Okay. Joey Lane said for the 3 max would be $900. Well, it came with 4. So you'd get all 4 comics. So basically, you might as well just say for the 4, the maximum would be $900. So one person said they'd pay $800 for these. Joey says, which basically is for all 4, because think of the other as a bonus. Joey says he'd pay a maximum of $900. Vision Eye View TV says he'd pay $1,000 for those 4 books. Optimus Prime says he would be paying $250. Good luck paying $250. You will not find a Amazing Spider-Man number 300 newsstand variant for $250. But good luck if you can find that. That unfortunately is wishful thinking. So we got James, Logan, and Potts all saying $450. Patrick says you're holding my childhood and why I got into comics in your hand. Well, there you go. Those are great comics to start out your comic book community life with. Vision Eye View TV says $1,000. Yeah, because you said $1K. So Brian says I started grabbing all the MJ variants I could find a couple years ago. Very smart. All right, so I think enough people. So the average looks like probably about 700 if you add all those numbers together. And we take out the 251 because that's just not realistic. I mean, who wouldn't love to buy these for $250? But the average is probably around the $700 range. I think people would be very comfortable getting all 4 of these books. Here it is. This was a just listed offer. So I will tell you that most of you would have overspent just for the fact of what the buy it now was. The person had all 4 of these books as a buy it now, $549 or best offer. So Jacob said $500. So I came to the person and said would they take $300 for it. They responded with an offer. We went back and forth a couple of times because this person was not as flexible as some of the people, and that's perfectly fine. I respect the game. But we ultimately came to the price of $400. So with shipping and handling and eBay taxes, I paid $449.40 for all of these books. So basically, to put it in perspective, if you say out of the $449.40, let's say I paid $225.40 for this book. That seems to be fair. Now, like I said, it's a mid-grade version of this book, so it's between a 5 and a 6. But it is a newsstand variant, so that is going to give it a little more desirability than just the regular version of this. Okay, so let's assume I paid $225.40 out of that original amount. That means I got all 3 of these, which are the higher grade ones, like I said, at least very fine plus up. All newsstand variants, so $316, $298, and $299 for $74.66 a piece. This is what I want to keep telling you. My viewers that watch me religiously, and you'll know who the power viewers are. If you're a power viewer, make your mark known. If you're an ultra power viewer, be proud of it. And God bless you, because if you could listen to me rant for an hour every time I do it, I couldn't do it myself, and I doubt my wife would be able to do it. So if you can, more power to you. So you've got a constitution that should be an 18 in Dungeons and Dragons. So what I'm trying to instill in people is, if you have tons of money, you could buy anything. It doesn't matter the price. I'm trying to help people that may have some financial issues or concerns or limitations, where they have to be very careful with the amount of money they spend. But, as they say, you have to spend money to make money. And if you notice, time and time and time and time and time again, I will buy key issue comics for under their value. So even if I had to sell these books right now, like you saw in the comment section, there were people that would have been willing to spend $1,000 on this. So let's just say I decided, and I'm not going to do it right now, let's say I decided to say, all right, without telling you the price of what I paid, I said I will sell these right now for $699 for all 4. How many of you right now in the live chat, if you had the money, if I said I'll sell all 4 of these right now for $699 plus shipping, how many of you would have said you'd buy it right on the spot? So it shows that I don't have to wait 10 years. I could literally make a $200, $300 profit easily, and the person buying them would have been happy. Because if the person that said $900 and the person that said $1,000 was what the maximum they would pay, if I said I'm selling it for $699, they'd be like, all right, that's $300 less than what I would have been willing to pay. So there would be plenty of people that would take advantage of that. Now, notice I said $699 and not $700. All right there, Vision Eye View TV says, I'd buy it on the spot. So I want people to, what Yoda once said, you have to unlearn what you have learned. The majority of the world has programmed the majority of people to always use emotion when it comes to investments, purchasing. And the problem with using your emotions is if it's something you want, because how many people, just this book alone, wouldn't want that book, especially if they don't own it? Because like that other person said earlier, some people, they want it for nostalgic reasons because it reminds them of their childhood. How many people will see that book and say, oh, I have money, I see it's right there, let me spend and bid and bid and bid and end up regretting it because you spent $800 on a book you could have gotten for $3 or $4. The idea is you have to put in the work. You have to know what you're buying. Because like that other person said with the 250, I mean, I'm sure they were just being comical and everything. But the chances of you finding all 4 of these books for $250 is not impossible. Because, like, for example, I'll show you it's not impossible. How many of you guys, with shipping and handling and taxes, let's test my power viewers out there. How many of you can remember, because this was only about a week or 2 ago, who can name how much I paid for this, including shipping and handling. So if you're watching this live, I'll give you a second. If you're watching this later on, pause the video for a second, and let's see who can do it without having to search for the video. So this, of course, is Black Panther, the first appearance of Black Panther, Fantastic Four number 52. It's not a variant. It's not a reprint. It's not a gold record or anything like that. It is a lower grade. It's about a 3.0, 3.5, maybe a 4.0, because, again, I always base it after pressings. Does anybody remember how much I paid for this? This particular book, I paid with shipping and handling and with eBay taxes $79.66. And that was just about 2 weeks ago. Because it was a newly listed buy it now. So there are deals out there. But we all also have to have the reality of what the value of a book is. Because let's say, for example, if these four were on an auction and they were 5 minutes before they were about to end, and let's say the bidding, they just did a one-day auction. If you did a maximum bid of $250, you're losing that auction. No way, if somebody had a dollar bid with all four of these comics with a one-day auction on eBay, would your $250 bid ever win unless you had the ability to freeze the world or shut off everybody's internet other than your own. So you have to think in the sense of, okay, what is the highest I would pay? What is the value of the book? Because if you know those things, then you know a steal when you see it. So I knew that $549 right off the bat was not a steal, but it was a very good deal. But when I see the words best offer, unless it's something like this, because this was listed as a buy it now or a starting bid of $24. So there was no way I was going to bid the $24 because it was a 7-day auction. It was just listed. This book would have sold for probably $400 or $500. So it had a list starting price of $24 or a buy it now for $69. There was no way I was going to try and get a best offer on it. I bought this right on the spot. Because if I would have waited probably 2 minutes, somebody would have placed that $24 bid and ultimately would have spent hundreds more than they could have, or somebody would have came along and bought it for the $69. And yes, I said $69, but, you know, that's the number they had up there, not me. So you have to know the value of the books, what you're willing to pay comparable to that value, where you see those books going. Will they go up in value? Will they at least maintain their value? Are they on the decline? And then you go, what kind of deal can I get? So if this was, for example, if these four were listed as a buy it now for $200 for all four of them and a best offer, I would not even attempt to make a best offer because by the time I sent that best offer, somebody would have nailed it and bought it. But I figured that $549 was something that somebody wouldn't snap up right away and they might have to think about it. So I sent them the offer quickly and told them, you know, if you accept my offer, I'll pay right away. And people love that. Because how many people, even yourself included, if you've ever sold on eBay, how many people have won an auction and then you don't hear from them for 2 or 3 days? Or some people don't even pay at all. So I think many people, and that's why I've been able to make some of the deals that I've made, especially in this year, where there were people that said flat out, no, I can't go that low, and then reconsidered because they figured, okay, I can take my chances and wait a week and see either if I have to relist or see if somebody doesn't pay, or take a little bit less than what I might have been able to get it for, but get the money right away. And depending on the situation, you never know. A person might be like me that need their car brakes fixed and they needed the money right away. And maybe that $50 or $100 difference wouldn't kill them. Because what if, for example, a book that they sold me for $800, what if they bought 10 years ago for 50. You know, sometimes you have to say, how much profit do I need? Because profit is nice, but any amount of profit is profit. So if I could sell something for 1,000, I'm probably going to sell it for at least $949, or maybe $899. Like you see in my auctions, almost every time my auctions are at the lowest of what these could go for, and a lot of them are books that are pretty much guaranteed to go up. Like, I'm still stunned that nobody on my last auction, that nobody even made an offer for my Amazing Spider-Man number 252, which was a CGC 9.8, and my Hulk 181 that had a Marvel stamp. Yes, it was restored, but even still, I was blown away by that. But, it, you know, as they say, to each their own, and if you don't have the money, then it doesn't matter what kind of deal you can get. But I'm trying to reprogram people's programs about how they used to invest. And I'm using these things as examples over and over again because I got more deals. I have probably about 5 or 6 more unboxings I can do, and until I get more money coming in and I get my brakes fixed and I pay some of my credit card bills, because I've been spending a lot of money on credit, but I have a limit so I don't go overboard and don't get crazy. It might be a little bit before I get another comic or two after these couple of boxes, but I have probably 500 boxes in reserve to keep it going. So I'm going to do better than I did last year. And I think most of you would probably argue that I've probably done more already this year than I probably did the entire last year. So I'm trying to change people's mindset, but I'd love to know what you think about this. Grand total was $449.40, and that's after shipping and handling. We agreed to $400 for all 4 books. So that is Amazing Spider-Man number 300, newsstand variant, between a 5 and a 6.0. Amazing Spider-Man number 316, first cover appearance of Venom, newsstand variant, at least very fine plus. Again, I have to look at the whole book. $2.99, Amazing Spider-Man, first cameo of Venom, also newsstand variant. And last but not least, Amazing Spider-Man number 298, newsstand variant, cameo appearance of Eddie Brock, and first time Todd McFarlane did artwork for Amazing Spider-Man. So, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Let me see what Jason said really quick. Why don't you sell some of those during your auctions at a slight markup from what you paid? People jump at the chance to win-win. The reason I don't is, as you see in my auctions, I want to primarily sell only graded books, because if I say a book is an 8.0 and I send it to somebody and they look at it and they're like, in their mind it's a 5.5, that's a big difference in price. So I would feel more comfortable selling a graded book, because then people know what the grade is. Now, they could make their mind up if it's a half a grade or a grade different, but a graded book means, first of all, it's more protected. It's going to let you know if it's restored or if there is something that makes it qualified. I just feel more comfortable with selling graded books. So if I was going to sell, I mean, if somebody right now offered me $500 for this book alone, I might consider it, but I would have to stress, so keep in mind, you know, I say, I think, in my opinion, it's at least a 5.0. If they send it to get graded and it comes back a 4, I don't want somebody to be mad at me. So I prefer to sell things graded. So eventually I'll get these graded and then I'll sell them, because it's just better for everybody that way. And I'm sure you can understand why I do that, because I did have an experience years ago when I was living in New York, when I was doing my auctions, when I was moving, that the person was very mad at me because I said the book had 9.8 potential, and I missed a minor color break increase that I legitimately did not notice on the back. And the person was furious with me, saying I was trying to scam them. And I'm like, just send the book back, I'll give you your money back, which is exactly what I did. So I think it's just better for everybody if I do it graded. So, you know, Jacob, of course, you know, you could agree or disagree with my logic, but, you know, that's the method to my madness. Let me see what Joey says really quick. Well, we'll go with Optimus Prime and then we'll do Joey's. He says that That ASM is beat. I'd pay up to $300, but I'm patient and I'd rather pay up for a better copy. Nothing wrong with that. Like I said, I bought this as a combo, so for me, the price overall, because you said you'd pay a $300, for about $150 more, I got the other 3 books. Does still make it worth it, but I can understand that. Joey says that's a great deal for the 4 books, especially with newsstand. I just found an ASM 300 direct for $300, so you definitely found a hidden gem that's always awesome to find. Yeah, and that's why it's like a lot of these books that I get are newly listed books. So sometimes people need money quick, and it's not always about selling for maximum profit. And that's what bothers me sometimes, and why I rarely ever buy from anybody else's auctions. Because I see almost all the time, and I'm not calling any name out specifically, because I watch more auctions than people realize I do. And they're not always just comic book auctions. But I see people, if a book is valued at $1,900, they're going to start the bidding at $1,900. Some even go higher because they know it's a popular book. To me, it's always like, well, how much profit do you really need? Because I want to make sure I make my profit and I'm happy. But I also want to make sure the person that buys from me has some room for it to move so they can be happy. So when you find deals like this, it allows me to be able to, even though I could probably easily sell this book for $500, after it gets graded, and let's assume it's a 5, and the value of that book is $700 at the time that I decide to sell it, because maybe the Venom movie, or they show that Venom is going to be a main feature in the next Spider-Man movie, and the value of the book, will go up. Well, I have some extra wiggle room, because even if I sell it for $50 less than everybody else, that's $50 in your pocket and not mine. And I could easily have sold it for the higher price and probably got it. But I want to make sure all parties are happy. And I think that's why I get so many people that purchase from me, keep purchasing from me. Because they know I have wiggle room. I'm not going to try and gouge them for every penny I can get. And I'm going to make sure they're happy. Even if things are not always the best. Like, for example, if a comic comes damaged and I didn't put protection the proper way, I'm responsible for that. That's why I make sure when I send out a comic, it's almost bomb-proof. So you have to take care of those things. So hopefully those answer those questions. James Logan says, can you tell us about Darth Vader up on the shelf? Oh. It is not an original. I don't remember how long ago I bought this, but this is a 2006 Hasbro Star Wars Vintage Darth Vader. It is graded a U90, but when I moved, it fell and cracked. So it didn't damage the figure at all, but it did crack. So this is from AFA. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but it's certified from the original Star. It's not from the original trilogy, but I used to collect Star Wars figures when I was a kid. I think I have 1 or 2 carded ones. I don't know where they are. I think some of them are still at my mother's house where she lives in New York, because we couldn't bring everything here when we moved. But I wish that was an original. I used to have all the originals, and some of them I kept in the... even as a kid, I knew collectability. I remember having one of my Star Wars figures still in unopened, and then one day I just decided to open it. It was the stupidest decision I ever made, because it was original Empire Strikes Back Yoda. And that, to this day, I mean, it's not major amounts, but it'd probably be $500-600. A lot better than the $399 I probably paid for it back in the days. But let me see. Chris, do you have any X-Men 120? I do. I have to get those graded. I have so many comics I want to get graded. It's just and because with the PGX deal, I can only send in 4 a month. It takes a lot longer to get a lot of mine graded, but I think I have 1 or 2. Maybe 3 of those books. I've actually recommended years ago people get X-Men 120 and X-Men number 121. If you're not familiar with those, that's the first appearance of Alpha Flight. But you also want X-Men number 109, which is the first appearance of, I think, I forget his name, but it was the leader, the guy with the red and white outfit. Kind of looked like an international skater, that kind of uniform. But it was like half red, half white with the Canadian flag. I forget his name, but that's his first appearance before Alpha Flight became a team. But yeah, those are books I was recommending probably 5 years ago. And also, you want to get a book cheap, is Alpha Flight #1, and also I believe Alpha Flight number 107. I believe it's 107, which was the first gay character. I think it was North Star. Oh yes, and SB Comics says the guy's name was Vindicator. Yeah, and that's from issue 109, so thank you for that. Yeah, those are all books I would recommend. Another book I was telling people to get, and as a matter of fact, probably 20 of them are still in their original boxes I bought years ago, is not Excalibur #1, but the first appearance of Excalibur, which was their, it was like a graphic novel kind of, I forget what they called it, but there's one that's a no price variant, and it's also a newsstand. I have one that I bought for a 9 point, I got it a CGC 9.8. The rest are all ungraded, but a lot of them are signed, and they're still in those boxes. So I forget the name of it. Anybody wants to put the name of it? I mean, you can't go wrong with Excalibur #1. Excalibur always had a thing for me, because when I went away to college, I subscribed, because I wasn't getting much mail when I was a kid. And when you're in college, you used to live back in the days when there was no email. You'd look forward to every day going down and seeing a package from your family or a letter. And I got some, but I didn't get many. And I thought what would be than to get comics in the mail. So I made subscriptions with Marvel. I got Punisher's War Journal, Thor, and Excalibur. And Excalibur was my favorite read of them. I just really loved the Alan Davis run of Excalibur. So I wanted to collect every issue of his run, even the Mojo Mayhem. So they are saying Excalibur is coming to the MCU, and the rumors are that Captain Britain will be played, and again, the name is eluding me at the moment, but the guy who played Superman, Henry Cavill, that he may be rumored to play Captain Britain. Now, I don't know if that's been confirmed yet, or if that was just a rumor, but I do believe, unless things change, because that's the thing, even if it's something that's true, things can change. Because remember, they were supposed to bring Henry Cavill back to become Superman again, and then they canceled it when they redid the whole DCU. So anything can change until it's out on the screen. You know, like, look at the first Deadpool. The first Deadpool was supposed to have Omega Red in it, but then they cut it out. So things like that can happen. But those are some books to look after. But to me, stuff like Amazing Spider-Man 300, even 299, and the 316 with Venom, since we know Venom is coming to the MCU, yes, he's already debuted in movies, but there's something different about like a Sony version of a character now coming into the MCU. I mean, look what Tom Holland and the MCU's version of Spider-Man did to the value of Spider-Man comics. Didn't hurt him. And considering, I would say the first Venom movie by Sony was okay. It was watchable, but it wasn't something I don't think I've ever watched it more than the one time I watched it. And the second one was just a mess. It was just so stupid. Sony, for some reason, they've definitely shown that they are only doing these movies because you need to make a movie every certain amount of years. Otherwise, the rights go back to Marvel. They've made it abundantly clear that they're just basically putting any garbage they could put out just to say, all right, you can't take the property back this year because, look, there's a movie. So the fact that Venom will be coming into the MCU, where you, especially nowadays, they finally may have gotten over their hump of the DEI nonsense, that even with it, they're still going to do it better than Sony could. I mean, the only good Sony movies that were from the Marvel universe, so to speak, was the first Spider-Man and the second Spider-Man. 3 was a jarbled mess, and when they rebooted Spider-Man, I mean, I thought he was okay, but I always thought the second version of Spider-Man, I liked him playing Spider-Man himself, but I did not believe him to be Peter Parker, because he seemed like a person that could be a jock that was on the track and field or playing tennis or hockey. He didn't seem like what Peter Parker should be, a scientist nerd. So that's why I think the original first 2 movies of Spider-Man really were the best version. I mean, I like Tom Holland, but they just relied too much on the Spidey suit. They basically Iron Man in a spider suit. And that kind of took away from what makes Spider-Man great, is that he didn't have armored tech. He didn't have weapons other than his web shooters. And he was still able to do the things that he did. You know, it's a lot easier to be brave while you're sitting in a tank than a military person sitting outside trying to destroy that tank. So, to me, that's why I think probably many people, for a long time until the movies happened, like, no one really cared about Iron Man for the longest time. Now, I'm not saying everybody. I'm sure there's plenty of people that have Iron Man fans, because if there weren't, you know, the comic would have been going out of business and no one would care about the character. But if you were to make a poll right now, who's your favorite character, Spider-Man or Iron Man, I would be very confident to say Spider-Man would be picked probably 80%, 85% of the vote. So the fact that, yes, Tom Holland does a great Peter Parker, he's a little too whiny for my taste, but not where it's irritating. Like I said, I enjoy it. But I think the original first 2 Spider-Man movies had the best potential of where Peter Parker and Spider-Man could go. Now, that's just my opinion. Yours could be different. You could think I'm totally crazy about that. So anyway, as usual, I'll go into my rants. And considering I'm not seeing anybody commenting anymore, probably everybody, I probably lulled them all to sleep. So I do not blame them. So of the 13 people here, I do not know how many liked it because it does not show it anymore. So if you want to hit the like button, that's great. If you want to make a comment about the AI art, please do. Also, if you know anybody that has any of those comics you see scrolling on the bottom of the image you see before you, please contact me at peacefulfeelings@yahoo.com. Or you can do like one of my awesome subscribers did. They contacted somebody on Instagram and told them about my channel. I haven't heard from that person yet, but if anything, it's a thought that counts. So if you know anybody, maybe on Instagram or any social network that looks for trades or might be willing to do it, send them my way. Because I want to show you guys you can achieve your dreams sometimes without having to spend money to do it. So let's make it happen, and hopefully it'll inspire people. So thanks for watching, everybody. Always appreciate you. Give it a thumbs up if you want. Hit subscribe if you want to. And let's do today's surprise subscriber shout-outs, which, by the way, you do not have to be a subscriber to be able to get. We're going to go with Pino as number 1. And let's go with Ports number 2. So both of you are today's surprise subscriber shout-outs, which means if you've never been picked before, and even if you've been picked before, it doesn't matter. I'll let you do it every time I pick you. But if you have a YouTube channel, you could post in the comment section once this video uploads a link to either a specific video you have or your YouTube channel. I'll leave that up to you. Does not have to be comic book related, but that would probably be the best way to get people to watch you from here. As long as it's, you know, user-friendly and kid-friendly, it does not have to be comic book related. If you don't have a YouTube channel or you'd prefer to post a link to one of your social networks, you can do that instead. Or if you'd rather post a link to something that you sell on eBay, Amazon, any of those places, again, as long as it's, you know, available for all to be able to look at. I'm not going to promote anybody with adult magazines or anything like that, or lingerie. It's got to be something a kid could be able to watch. You could post a link there. Keep in mind, any link will not show up right away. It will go automatically in spam because I am much smarter than the trolls out there who try and go randomly on people's channels and put links to porn sites or something. So if you see a link in the comment section, it means I did verify it, I did approve it. So you have the utmost confidence of knowing that if you click on a link, it's going to take you where it's supposed to. And go support our fellow comic book community. So thanks for watching, everybody. Thank you to all that contributed into the live chat. I hope you had a good time watching. Hopefully it inspires you. Let me know in the comments section what you thought about this price, what you would have paid, and what kind of deals you're out there. Let's get a conversation going. Thanks for watching, everybody. And don't forget, it's not you. It is not I. It is we.